Good evening and welcome to the Passionate Professional series. My name is Tunde Kukoyi and I'm the host of tonight's episode. The Passionate Professional series is an offshoot of the Passion and Purpose Hub, which is a channel on YouTube that shares useful information so that you maximize your passions and your purpose so you enjoy success and also fulfillment in your lives. This is episode 28 of the Passionate Professional series, and I'm so excited to be with you here today. And our guest for today is also in the studio, ready to add some value to us. So I'm sure we're going to have an exciting time. The main reason why we do the Passionate Professional series is to help you to see that if these people, these passionate professionals from across all walks of life, name it education, business, healthcare, media, if these people can do it, then you can do it as well. You don't have to put yourself in the box and say, oh, this is what I've been put. You can actually explore your passions and use it to find fulfillment for yourself, but not just that, but also make a difference, a positive difference in the world. That's the main reason why I do this, hoping that just the way candles light each other, these passionate professionals can light us up and help us to find success and fulfillment in our lives. Um, at this point, I would like to say a massive thank you to everyone who's joined us live, and for those people that watch the replays as well, because sometimes some people are not able to join live, but they watch the replays or they play the replays and then they give us feedback on how these episodes are actually adding value to their lives. You guys are the real MVP. So thank you so much for joining and for watching as well. And I would also like to let us know that this is an interactive session. As much as possible, if you're joining live and you have questions for our guest, please feel free to add the questions in the comment section, whether you're using LinkedIn or using YouTube, and I'll be sure to put the questions up so that our guests can see and address your questions. So we're just going to get started as we normally do. And as the tradition is on this show, I like starting by asking a question. And the question for today is this: do you suffer from imposter syndrome? And I like the word suffer because it changes the whole perspective. I work in healthcare and sometimes you see people who come and say, oh, I have hypertension. Well, I understand that. But some people come and say, I suffer from hypertension. That changes the perspective. And that's why I'm asking this question. Do you have imposter syndrome? Do you suffer from imposter syndrome? So, what exactly is imposter syndrome? This term was actually coined in 1978 by some psychologists, but we use it a lot these days. But what does it actually mean? It's actually when you doubt your own success, when you doubt your own skills, when you feel like you're not enough. Some people say it makes you feel like you're a fraudster, and then people are going to find out that you're not good as they think you are. That, in summary, is what imposter syndrome is. I must say that at certain points in my life, I've felt like an imposter, felt like, oh, what would they think of me? Even by doing this show sometimes, when I the adverts up, I feel like an imposter sometimes. People say, oh, what I might think in my mind that, what would people think of me? Oh, why do you think you're good enough to put up a show? What have you achieved yourself? That in itself is imposter syndrome. And I must admit that sometimes I have to be aware of that and I have to find ways to overcome it. And I think that's where you start thinking about the mindset shift. Like, oh, everybody at some point in their lives would encounter imposter syndrome. But the question is, do you let it get you down or do you stand up and go ahead despite the imposter syndrome? I would like to tell you, if you have or suffer from imposter syndrome, that you're not alone. Look at all these people there. They've actually said at certain points in their lives they felt like imposter, ranging from Albert Einstein, Serena Williams, Howard Schultz, Michelle Obama, Emma Watson, Robert Pattinson, Ariana Huffington, Maya Angelou. All these people have said at certain points in their lives that they felt like imposters. So you're not alone. So, what are some signs that you might be experiencing imposter syndrome? You might feel uncomfortable when people praise you, saying, "Oh, you did a good job," and you're like, "Oh no, it wasn't me. I got some help." You know, when you're afraid of receiving praise, or when you believe that everybody knows more than you, or they feel like you don't know enough, or when you worry that you don't belong to the team that you're on, and people will find out very soon. Those are some signs that you might be suffering from imposter syndrome. And because this is the Passionate Professional series, the question is how can imposter syndrome affect your personal life and your professional life. And one thing is, if you suffer from imposter syndrome at work, you might feel like you might be scared of asking for a raise. You might be scared of asking for a promotion. That's the way that imposter syndrome can limit you. It can also make you feel like, oh, you have to overwork so that people will feel like, oh, you're worthy of your position. Or sometimes you experience more burnout just because you're overworking yourself. And ultimately, it leads to lower job performance and lower satisfaction. So, what are some ways that we can deal with imposter syndrome? The first thing is remind yourself of your wins. I think we kind of underplay our wins, our small wins. You get a job promotion or you get an acknowledgement at work or someone says and then you just push it on that, oh yeah, well, you should not push them on that. You should remind yourself of those wins, store them, put them up on your wall, let them remind you that you are worthy, you've done enough to deserve your post. And be kind to yourself. When we do something wrong, we actually beat ourselves up, but we won't do the same to others. We need to practice self compassion. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself chance to make some mistakes, and give yourself chance to learn from the mistakes as well. And like the next one says, practice accepting praise. I think I'm guilty of that. When people come to me and say, "Oh, well, you did something well," I'll be like, "No, no, no. It's because I did this, I did this, I did this." But I think at some point in time, when people are telling you to do something well, you find yourself about to downplay it. Just tell yourself to shut up and accept the praise. Sometimes you need to accept the praise. Another thing is don't compare yourself to others. In this world of social media, we like comparing ourselves to others. Oh, this person is doing this, and comparison is the thief of joy. You should compare yourself to the previous version of yourself. As long as you're improving yourself, then that's all that matters. Challenge yourself. Sometimes you see some jobs and you be like, oh, I'm not worthy to put myself forward for that role. Who says you're not worthy? Challenge yourself. That is how you overcome imposter syndrome and understand, like I said, that we all at some point in our lives deal with imposter syndrome. Don't try to run away from it. Understand that sometimes it is just your body telling you that you need to do better. You need to do better. And finally, if you suffer from imposter syndrome, you need to seek professional help. Sometimes you might need to speak to family members, or you might need to get a mentor, you might need to get a coach, but you might need to seek professional psychology help. But whatever it is, you need to seek professional help. And I hope that has shed some light to us today on how to identify and deal with imposter syndrome. Most of us, at some point in our lives, will encounter imposter syndrome, but it's not about encountering it, it's about rising above it and reaching for our goals. At this point, I would like to introduce our guest for today, who's already in the studio and ready to add some value to us. And our guest for today is Daniella Genas. So she's a business growth strategist with nearly 2 decades experience dedicated to helping service-based entrepreneurs scale with clarity, confidence, and sustainable strategies. She's the creator of the Visa framework. That means vision, innovation, strategy, systems, and accountability. She blends coaching, consultancy, and training to drive transformative results without burnout, helping numerous business owners reach 6 and 7 figure revenues. She's an award-winning speaker and TEDx speaker, and she also serves as a trustee. I'm sorry, I've just cut that off. I'm really sorry. She's also the founder of Be the Boss International, through which she equips service entrepreneurs with clarity, systems, and strategies needed to scale their businesses sustainably, eliminating burnout, and unlocking their true potential. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome to the virtual stage Daniella Genas. Hi, Daniella.
Good evening. I'm hoping that you can hear me okay.
Yeah, I can hear you okay. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
How's your Sunday going?
Busy, lots of cooking, lots of playing with the children, wanting to plan for the week, but that's not going to happen until the children are in bed. So we do what we can in the time that we have.
Well, I think we're blessed in the UK to have had an extra hour of sleep. So, how did that feel in the morning?
Well, those without small children were blessed. Those of us with small children recognize, oh my gosh, the sleep pattern is now going to be even more out of control. So I was up technically at 7, but with the clocks going back at 6. So I'm excited to see how it's going to work out tomorrow and for the rest of the week. But yeah, it doesn't feel like any benefit in this house, I assure you.
All right. Well, so welcome to the Passionate Professional series, and thank you for honoring the invitation. And to our guests who are watching live, Daniela is here and she's ready to add value to us. So feel free to ask questions. Like I said, she's a business strategist, she's a speaker, she's also a founder of Be the Boss International. And those are the things I've read from her bio, but I'm sure Daniela will want to tell us a bit more about herself, her background, and yeah, I'll hand that over to you. Tell us a bit more about yourself, Daniela.
Well, interestingly, one of the things that I'm saying quite loudly at the moment is talking about me being very proud of my cultural heritage. So, yes, I'm in business, I'm also a mom, I'm a wife. But one of the things that is really important to me is my heritage. I am a British born Jamaican and very proud of that. And one of the things that I feel that we don't necessarily talk about a lot in business is how our kind of cultural backgrounds impact how we navigate the whole kind of business world and business system. So it's something that I've been really looking at a lot deeper recently. Um, I ran my own business previously. So Be the Boss is actually my third business. Ran two businesses prior, lots of ups and downs, and I feel like I'm kind of now finding my stride and really enjoying running this business specifically. And yeah, that's really, I'm just out here trying to inspire people, trying to motivate, trying to support in a range of different ways through the business, through what I do with the charity First Class Foundation, through my role as a vice chair of Ethical Equity, which is an investment kind of matching company where we match impact investors with impact business owners. So I'm doing quite a few different things, but all of them are kind of aimed at improving businesses, improving lives, improving circumstances, and that's really what I'm very passionate about.
Cool. Thank you so much, Daniela. I can see some comments already. Some people asking questions. But I'll bring that. Well, I'll leave that till the end when we talk about the questions from the audience. So
Mhm.
thank you. I have a few questions for you just about yourself. How do you pronounce your last name? Is it Genas?
Genus. So
Genas.
it's caused a bit of issues lately. So my maiden name is Genus, so that's the name I use in business. But my married name
Okay.
is Ogabanjo. I'm married to a Nigerian. I tried to keep my maiden name for business, but it's causing a few issues at the moment for because of my ID, which is my married name. But neither one of the names are easy to pronounce. So Genus and Ogabanjo, both quite complex and complicated.
Okay. I'm just going to do something which I normally don't do, but I think it's just for today. Still, because we're on the get to know you questions, I'm just going to ask you maybe two or three random questions, so it helps me and it helps the audience know you even better. So we'll play a little game at the start. I used to leave it for the end, but let's do it now. Right. I hope you can see this.
Yeah, yeah,
So the first question is, do you have any pets?
absolutely not. I do not like animals in the house at all.
Have you ever
I'm
had pets then?
Nope, not interested at all. If I lived somewhere else, I feel like I might have a dog in the yard, but in the UK it's
Hmm.
cold, and the
Yeah.
idea of having an animal just in my house walking on my stuff, no, it's a strong no
Okay.
for me.
One more question then, and then we'll carry on. Would you rather go to the beach or a pool?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the beach, but depending on where the beach is, yeah, the beach, definitely the beach. With the pool, I just feel like it just feels a bit more germy. Although the sea probably has more germs and less chlorine, but the sea feels cleaner, it feels more beautiful than a pool. A pool could be anywhere, whereas the beach means you're looking out at the sea and at the water. Although I have a bit of a weird thing. I don't like looking at the sea if I can't see land on the other side. I have a bit of a phobia of open water, which is why I've never been on a
Hmm.
cruise. But generally, I prefer the beach.
Nice. Thank you. I think now we know you better. We don't like pets, and we know that you'd probably you have a fear of large bodies of water.
It's very
But yeah,
irrational.
thank you. Just a bit of icebreaker for us. Cool. Thank you. So let's delve in further. So the next question I'm going to ask you, as the founder of Be the Boss, and everyone says she's the boss, she's the boss. We'll talk about that in a bit. But What then are your values? Are you able to share that with us?
So when you say my values, you mean my business values or my life
I'm
values?
happy for you to split them.
Okay. So value my business values, funny enough, I was just updating them a few days ago. I have four key values that really drive the business. Operational excellence is the first one. So that's really about being relentless in improving internal systems and processes, and just pushing for excellence in every area of our operations. Client first. So ensuring that our clients are at the heart of everything we do. We really take a client centered approach and always kind of seeking to enhance our services to provide like amazing value and experiences. Integrity is really important. And I think that kind of that sits in the business values, but also in my personal values. So it's really about standing by our word, my word, acting with integrity in all aspects of everything, being trustworthy, and just acting with discretion, honesty, truthfulness, and being exactly who I say I am. So not kind of presenting a false image of who I am. I think that's really important. And then finally, innovation. So really kind of challenging the status quo, thinking outside the box, doing things differently, and kind of consistently focusing on continued improvement. So they're the business values. Personal
Yeah.
values, as I said, integrity is really high on my list. Um, I just find people that don't operate with integrity, I find it quite offensive. So I try to consistently practice what I preach. Like I
Mm.
appreciate people that act with integrity. Therefore, I'm always aiming to be a person that operates with integrity. And I think justice is another one. I really am about kind of people being treated fairly. If an injustice has occurred, people should be recompensed for that. There should be opportunities for people to receive justice. And I think that's something that really comes from my background, being Jamaican, being black, being a woman. There are many kind of factors that would lead to me having injustices meted out against me. But throughout my kind of family history, there's been kind of major episodes of injustice. And I think that's probably why it's such an important thing to me. People being treated fairly is really, really high up in my kind of personal value system. And then also striving for success, um, and being ambitious. I really am about kind of always striving to be your best self, always striving to achieve success, always striving to be a better version of you. And success is obviously relative. Your idea of what success
Yeah.
is versus what mine is may be something completely different. But whatever it is for you, striving for that and not being lazy, not kind of sitting around and waiting for somebody to help you, getting up, taking action. So my kind of personal mantra is think big, take action, keep pushing. And I think that really encapsulates what my personal values are up to a point. Thinking big, like not allowing your circumstances, not allowing what people say, not allowing anything to stop you from having a big vision and having big dreams, taking action, really getting up, going out and doing what needs to be done every day consistently to bring that vision and that big dream and those goals to fruition. But then also keep pushing if injustices are kind of meted out against you, if you are facing obstacles, not just giving up and quitting, not waiting for somebody to come and save you, but actually doing what needs to be done and pressing forward regardless, irrespective of the obstacles in your way. So I would say that really encompasses and encapsulates what I stand for, really.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's interesting that you've actually clearly defined these are my business values, these are my personal values. Now, I would like to ask you at this point, is this something that you just stumbled on, or is it something that you sat down and you set out time like, oh, I need to decide what my values are? How did you come about your values? Because sometimes some people, when you ask them, what are your values? They're like, oh. Is it something that you stumble on, or is it something that you actually need to sit down, craft, refine? How did you come about it?
Well, with my personal values, I feel like they just became very apparent to me in terms of how I operate, how I think, things that offend me, things that I respect, things that I appreciate. Me recognizing that when I saw instances of injustice, it really upsets me, it angers me, and recognizing that's clearly something that is quite important to me. The idea of me kind of always thinking big and having these really grand aspirations, or as my auntie would say, visions of grandeur, again became very apparent to me. So with my personal values, I don't necessarily think I ever sat down and said these are
Mhm.
what they are. I think I just lived them, breathed them, felt them, understood them to be what my core values are. With the business values, I would say I've been more intentional with kind of crafting them. But again, they have kind of become apparent through the years of me being in business, even from my first ever business, having an understanding that it's really important to put your clients first. It's really important to operate with integrity. It's really important to strive for excellence. Because if I've got these big visions, if I'm going to continue to keep pushing, etc., then I can't do that if I'm being lackadaisical with things, if I'm not putting in proper effort, if I'm not kind of demonstrating that I want what I'm doing to be of a high standard. So I've sat down and refined them, but they've kind of presented themselves in how I just generally do business and how I think.
Great. And just closely tied to your values, the next question will be, what are the things then that you're passionate about? Because some of them might be intertwined. For example, you say some things that make you angry. Then from those things, you can find out, oh, I'm passionate about this. So when you talk about justice. So this is the Passionate Professional series. Are you able to share with us then some of the things that you're passionate about and how you're able to achieve that through your daily life in business, and so on and so forth?
So I'm passionate about many things. I'm passionate about many not that important things. I'm very passionate about music. I'm very passionate about food. So I sing a lot. I listen to a lot of music. I cook a lot. I eat out as often as I can without kind of squandering my money and eating things that are not good for me. But important things that I'm passionate about. I'm very passionate about young people and community. So the work that I do, or the work that I support, really, should I say, with First Class Foundation, the charity that I'm a trustee for, really allows me to support an organization that is out in the community, that is supporting young people, that is supporting families. And whilst I'm not necessarily out on a one-to-one basis in the streets, working with the young people directly, my contribution to the charity means that I am contributing in some way to the young people and the community. I'm really passionate about that. I'm really passionate about business. And it's interesting. So with my business, I'm not necessarily specific in terms of gender, in terms of ethnicity. I work with a cross section of society, but I am truly passionate as a woman and as a Black woman about providing opportunities for development, for growth, for support for women in business, for I guess members of the global majority in business, because whatever people will try to lead you to believe, particularly in the UK, we are disadvantaged when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to finance, when it comes to support, when it comes to networks, where women and people of color are disadvantaged in a number of ways. And therefore, I'm very passionate about supporting those people. So, whilst I'll support everyone, I have a particular passion of supporting those people. And yeah, and that's kind of what I do every day through the business and even through some of the kind of informal mentoring that I do. I have a mentee, sorry, at the moment that I'm working with, and I try to always make sure that I'm at least mentoring young people also, in addition to the other things that I do. So yeah, I'm generally quite passionate about many things, and I don't always have the time to be as active in fulfilling those passions, but there's many ways and means that I am contributing to the things that I am passionate about.
Excellent. I think that's an absolutely brilliant answer. And it also helps people see that you don't have to say that. You don't have to say, oh, this is all I'm passionate about. You can be passionate about so many things and you can find ways to give them expressions, whether it's through your business, whether it's through, just like you said, you're passionate about young people and community, but even though you don't have the time to do as much as you like to, you're also supporting the foundation that reaches out to young people and the community. And I think that's the beauty of understanding what your passions are, and that's what the Passionate Professional series is all about, helping you see that, okay, yes, if I'm passionate about this, if someone can do this, then I can do this as well. And so thank you so much for sharing that with us. And is in terms of like young people and community, or I know you also work with, like you said, a cross section, but you also specifically are interested in women and maybe people of color that are disadvantaged. Is there anything that you can think back to maybe when you're younger that sparked that interest in you or something like that?
I just think there's been so many different things over the years. As I said, as a Black woman, I have been in situations as a Black woman in business, where I have been overlooked for opportunities, where I've been blocked from certain opportunities, where I've not been able to access the support that I need. And particularly my first business, one of the key things that I found really challenging is not being able to find anybody to support me that looked like me, that came from a background that I came from, that could understand the specific challenges that I was facing. So one of the key reasons that I started this business was to fill the gap that I had identified when running my first business. So I don't think there was any particular, this was the moment when I decided. It was
Mhm.
more just a continuation of recognizing and seeing consistently that actually these specific people are not being supported in the way that they should be and could be. And in fact, I was telling a story yesterday, something that really not necessarily led me on this path, but I remember really annoyed me. I remember thinking, "Oh, gosh, if everybody else had this privilege." I was at an event. I used to be a trustee, well, an advisory board member for a business support organization when I was running my first business. And they asked me to come and speak at an event. And prior to me speaking, they had two young guys there that were speaking, and they were talking about starting their business. And one of them said, "Well, when I decided to start the business, I went to my dad. I told my dad, and my dad gave me £9,000. And then my business partner went to his dad, and his dad said he would match the £9,000. So then we took that money and went to the bank and said we need money, and the bank matched it, and that's how they started their business." And I remember sitting there thinking, "Wow, like, what would I have done with even a quarter of that when I started my business?" But I don't come from a background where people could just be giving out 9,000 here and 9,000 there, and then the bank is matching it. So for me, that was a pivotal moment in really making me understand the power of privilege,
Mhm.
but also recognizing that actually they, and I've not seen this business ever again. So I'm not sure if they're even still in business, but it made me really think, actually some of us are so resilient because we've been able to do what we've been able to do, probably to the same standard or above what they've been able to do, and look at the head start that they got. So imagine if we were given more support, how much further ahead we could get. So yeah, I'd say that was probably also quite a pivotal moment in my entrepreneurial journey.
Thank you, Daniela. So the other question I'm going to ask you is because obviously you've been in business for a while, and you obviously combine it with other things, being a trustee, being an advisor on the board, being a family woman, loving to cook, and all of that. So, how then are you able to combine all of this? Then, how? Because obviously you need to have some like productive habits that enables you to do that. I actually saw a post that I think you put on, I think it was LinkedIn, and I'm going to share that now. I'm going to share that picture for everyone to see. And sometimes it feels like our lives is this way. Everything just goes like in a blur. Everything just happens really quickly, and then you just be like, where did all the time go? So how then are you able to make sure that you maximize your time in order to get the best outputs of your time? What are some of the
So
habits that you have?
So one of the things that I am very ruthless with is time blocking. So I
What does that
identify,
mean?
so
Time
it's
blocking.
basically blocking out time in my diary to complete specific tasks. So I have a very particular way of working, and I'm going to be very honest and put my hands up. It doesn't happen this way all the time.
Mhm.
But when I'm productive, and when it's able to work, it works very effectively. So I have a full plan usually every quarter of what I need to achieve for the quarter in the business specifically, but also certain things within life. And then I break that down into kind of monthly things that need to be achieved. And then that's broken down usually on a Sunday night, but often on a Monday morning, into tasks that I need to achieve for the week. And what I then do is each day I then determine, okay, which of these things am I going to do today? Again, sometimes I do it the night before, often I do it the morning of, and I break the tasks down into blocks of time. So it'll be from 9 till 10, I'm going to do this. From 10 till 12, I'm going to do this. From 12 till 1, I'm going to do this. 1 to 2 is lunchtime. From 2 to, and I break it down to that level of detail, including lunch, including running to the shop, including
Mhm.
call the dentist to book an appointment. But I'm really quite specific. And when I get to the end of the time period, 9 times out of 10, I will stop and move on to the next thing. And I have found that to be really like necessary for me to get anything done, because I often say to people, I'm probably the most organized person that you've ever met. Like, I'm
Mm.
from outward looking in, I look super organized. But the reason is because I'm so disorganized. If I wasn't super organized, nothing would ever get done. So on the weeks where I don't do what I've just said, nothing gets done. And I'll get to the end of the week like, oh my gosh, what happened? And it's because I didn't follow my own kind of methods of working. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes life happens. I've got children. So like there was a few weeks ago where my baby just was not sleeping at all. She was up multiple times the night. I was exhausted. I wasn't trying to be doing time blocking and what are my outputs for this week. I was just trying to get through the week. But when we're having a normal standard week, that's how I work. And that for me makes me operate at a level that I cannot do if I don't do that. One of the other things that I'm very intentional about also is not doing anything. And I think this
Mm,
sometimes flies into the face of what entrepreneurship is supposed to be about: hustle, hustle, go, 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 work hard. And actually, yes, sometimes I do that, but I also make sure that I'm very intentional that if I feel overly tired, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, but also if I know I've been going for a specific amount of days or time, that I have a rest. And I used to feel guilty, particularly my first business. My first business, I was one of those people, I was just work, work, work. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm still there. I never was an early riser, to be fair, but I would work late into the early hours of the morning and 7 days a week. Like it was not unusual that every single day, and this is before I had kids or anything, I would just go, go, go. And I used to get burnt out, like really burnt out. There was a period of time that my hair was falling out. I lost a lot of weight. I was getting sick constantly. Like every other week, I'd have a cold or a flu. And then I would have this thing that I would say I'd lost my mojo, and I didn't know at the time it was burnout. I couldn't like
mm,
something that would take me 20 minutes to do normally would take me 2 hours. I couldn't think straight. And it was because I was burnt out. And I've really learned that lesson in this business that actually sometimes this is going to have to wait, because I'm not going to be productive if I don't get rest. And there's no point feeling guilty about it, because why am I feeling guilty? I can sit there for the 3 hours and try and get it done, or I can go and rest for 3 hours and get it done in 30 minutes. So I'm very intentional about sometimes just stopping. And again, I say these things when I say these things being very transparent in communicating that it's not always that way. Sometimes I do have to, like, my husband will say, okay, it's time now, chill out. And I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. Because I have been going. But for the most part, I try to be very intentional with kind of taking time off, and also very intentional with having fun. And again, this, when you talk about productivity, I don't think people ever really mention the importance of fun in being productive. If you're just working, working, working all the time, how are you going to stay motivated? How are you going to keep going, continually going? For me, rest is one thing, but having fun is another. So I like to have parties. I like to go to parties. I like to spend time with friends. I like to go out for dinner. I like to just turn music on in my house and sing at the top of my voice and dance around the kitchen. And actually, those natural endorphins and that excitement then means, right, I'm ready to go. Let's go and get this work done. So, probably not the most standard of answers, but yeah, rest and fun form really significant parts of my productivity and time blocking.
absolutely, 100%. I totally agree with your answer. I'll tell you. You mentioned time blocking, and you mentioned being intentional about resting and being intentional about having fun. It's like the problem is many people have actually forgotten how to rest and how to have fun. Yeah, a lot of people are just living on a day-to-day basis, and I mean, when you talk about rest, sometimes the only thing they can think of is, oh, let me just scroll through social media, which I mean has its advantages and disadvantages, but being able to actually say that I am resting, I mean, that's something that a lot of people have forgotten how to do. And yeah, having fun as well, just like you said, like life doesn't have to be a drag. Sometimes it's just playing music, dancing. A lot of people have forgotten. I mean, you can't even go outside and dance in the rain anymore. It just feels like you can't live life anymore. But yeah, I think sometimes you need that. You need that. Just like you said, inner boost of endorphins to actually get you going and getting you motivated. So thank you for sharing that. Time blocking is something I've not done before, but I think it's something that, just like you've shared, I think it's something that I'll probably consider trying, and I hope some people also consider trying that as well. Because the thing with us as humans is we have willpower, yeah, but willpower doesn't last. So you might say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to save £1,000. I'm going to do this. I'm going to. But if you don't create systems for doing that, the chances that you fall back, even if you do it once, are very high. And that's why we need to create systems for ourselves. If you create systems, then it's hard to fail. And I'm sure you talk about that when we talk about businesses, why businesses fail and things like that. But I think systems are kind of like above us as humans. I'll put that in quotes, but we can put systems so that when our willpower fails, then the system will just carry on. And I think time
Mm.
blocking is one of the ways that we can do that.
Mhm.
So I'd just like to ask you to just tell us about some of your proudest moments, some of the things that you've achieved before. I mean, we talked about imposter syndrome at the beginning, and a lot of people try to downplay their achievements, but I know you're not going to do that because you're the
Yeah, I
boss. So
don't have
tell us
that
about
problem.
some of tell us about some of your proudest moments, some of your achievements, please.
So there's been a few. I'd say one of the most physically, what would you say, where I've had the biggest physical response to something happening was actually in my first business, and I'd been working really hard to get some funding for a program that we were running, and we were able to secure the funding, and they called me to say it's confirmed, and it was for £150,000, and I'd
Wow.
written the application myself, with a friend of mine, well, a friend of mine, Shane. When I got through to the second stage, I remember I was just a mess, like I don't know what to do, and they said I had to get the finances in by a specific day, and he'd come to the office to help me because I was just like emotional. I can't do it, I'm not going to get it. And we managed to get through it, submit it, and then they called. And I'll never forget, I was in the middle of a meeting with one of my clients and friends now, Dean, who runs a company called Blocker. And I said, Dean, sorry, 1 minute. I knew it was the funders. And they said, Daniela, you've got it. The money's going to be in your account in however long it was. I had to cancel the rest of the meeting. I nearly passed out. Like, I remember, like, when you see in the films where the person, like, you're looking it through the person's kind of vision, and everything kind of just goes in slow motion and the sound goes, "Ooh."
Mhm.
That's how I felt. Like, oh my gosh. Remember, what you also have to put this into context. I come from inner city community. Like, we don't, I've never seen anybody or known of anyone growing up with that level of money coming to them. So it was like something that I hadn't ever even imagined, at that specific point. Now, obviously, I've got big thinking and all that, but at the time, that was really quite a monumental moment for me. More recently, I did my TEDx talk in 2022, and that was a really amazing moment for me because I'd put on my, I do something called Vision 20, where I work with business owners to help them really clarify their vision and create a roadmap for achieving that vision. And on mine, so I do it for myself, on mine I had put to deliver a TEDx talk, and within a few months I was contacted to do a TEDx talk. And unlike many people that have to go through like a pitching process and an
Mhm.
application, I didn't have to do that. Somebody mentioned my name in a room, and within 2 weeks I was on the stage delivering my TEDx talk. And that was a really proud moment because it just felt like all of the stars aligned in a very
Mhm.
specific way to enable that to happen. So I really was really appreciative of that moment. And also, there's just been many small things. So I do something called the founders dinners. As you know, you came to one. um,
Yeah.
I think you came to the spring dinner. And I've been running the founders dinners for a number of years, but this year in particular, they've seemed to pick up the pace. And I got contacted the other day by somebody that was asking to jump on a call because they want to sponsor it. And previously, we've
Wow.
been going out trying to look for sponsors. This is the first time
Mhm.
somebody's come to me and said, "We want to sponsor. Let's have a meeting." So that's been a really proud moment. I also, let me not get carried away with myself, but I was also quite impressed with myself. For last year, I did the welcome address at the UK Black Business Show, the Birmingham edition, whilst I was like 7.5 months pregnant. So
Wow.
that was a pretty big achievement for me. So there's been a few over the years. There's many that I haven't achieved as yet, but I believe wholeheartedly that they're going to be achieved within the next few years.
Can I clap?
If you want, thanks.
Well done, well done. And yeah, I must say that the founders dinners are really amazing. I mean, something I told you when I got there, I was like, I felt like a fish out of water. But to be honest, I left that meeting feeling empowered, and it was just good to be in a room with people that were thinking big, taking action, and pushing, and people that kept pushing the boundaries. And yeah, I think it's good to be in a community like that because it just elevates you because you just go above your regular level and then you go to a higher level because you're resonating at the level of people that you spend time with. But yeah, massive things that you've done. I mean, you're talking about many years ago, getting a grant of £150,000 is not a small feat. The TEDx talk, Again, it's not a small feat either. And yeah, the UK Black Business shows are also big events, and yeah, being able to do the opening address and raising funds for your Founders Day as well. I think massive kudos to you. And I'm sure you've done many other things, but for the sake of time,
Yeah.
we will not go into that. But well done to you. Well done to you, Daniela.
Okay.
Someone once said that, I mean, if you talk about your successes, then you can impress people. But sometimes people want to hear your challenges as well, because that's how you can encourage people, because they'll be like, okay, yes, you're not just high up there. You've actually been where I've been. You faced some of the things I've faced. So have you actually had some challenging times, or has it just been a smooth sail for you all along?
I wish it was my whole existence has been this pretty much. And particularly the last few years, like there's so many challenges that again we're stuck for time. I can't like sit and list all of them, but some of the biggest last 2023 was, well, 2023 to 2024 has probably been um just one big roller coaster of challenges, to be honest with you. So I had a baby last year in September. A few, like a month before that, I buried my grandmother. Very close with my
Sorry
grandma.
to
She
hear
played a very pivotal role in helping to raise me, and she passed away when I was like heavily pregnant. And it was a really tough pregnancy on top of that. So there was just, it was very relentless. So throughout the pregnancy, I felt very unwell. I was very sleepy. I couldn't eat properly. I was very weak. But then I'm still trying to run a business. I've got clients that paid me. I have to deliver. So it was just a very crazy time. I'd get up, I'd have my client session, I would then have a nap and set a timer to wake me up before the next client session. And then I'd get up and then I have to like try and shake myself up so I didn't look like I'd just been sleeping, have another client session, have another nap, but set a reminder because then I've got to go and pick my daughter up from school. It was just full on, and it was really tough. Thankfully, I had great people that were working with me at the time, Neo and Faluke. Faluke is still with me. Unfortunately, Neo got a better offer back home, which I can't be upset with him because he really supported me so much through a very difficult time. And yeah, like juggling, trying to mourn, trying to prepare for baby, trying to keep the business going in the way that I needed it to. I had a really solid plan. One of the things that I focus on is around systemization and ensuring that your business can operate without you. So for me, I'm like, this is the test. This is how I show people how it's done. And I'd set up a range of different things, or been in the process of setting them up, and I was let down by certain people that were supposed to assist with that. So some of the things that were supposed to sustain me during being off on maternity leave didn't materialize through no fault of my own. I did everything that I needed to, even despite the fact that I was like half dead on the floor half of the time. So that was really challenging. And what it meant was I had to return to work much sooner than I had anticipated. Like I took a period of
Mm,
time off, but the things were not set up and completed when they should have been. So it's just been a roller coaster. What I'm very grateful for though is, as I said, I had great people around me. Feluke is still with me and she is just doing a phenomenal job. I have an amazing husband who's very supportive. I have amazing friends that have been really supportive. And even with the charity that I'm a trustee for, the founder and the CEO, have been really supportive during this time. Um, yeah, so and I had some mentors that just really boosted me and kept me kind of not quite kept, enabled me to continue to keep pushing. And I never thought that I wouldn't. It was not a thing of, oh my gosh, I'm not doing it anymore. But there were days and times where I'm just like, this is a bit too much now. Um, and the fact that I've been able to kind of remain present, to keep a profile, particularly on social media, to the point that, as I said, when I was pregnant, I did a big keynote. I've still been doing talks, I've been appearing on podcasts, I've been able to acquire new clients, demonstrates that it's not impossible, it can be done, but it wasn't fun.
mhm.
It wasn't fun at all, it was tough. And that's probably the most recent challenge. As I said, throughout the years, there's been many, but recently that was the toughest. And then I started working again, and I had a part-time nanny that would come to the house 2 mornings a week, Tuesday morning and Thursday morning, and I was trying to run a full-time business on a Tuesday and a Thursday morning. And then on Saturdays, I would go to a coffee shop and work while my husband kind of held it down at home. So it was, again, a very full on experience because I've had the baby, I've had my little bit of time of doing not that much, and then I'm back at it again. But I'm trying to condense 5 days of work into like 1.5 days of work. And yeah, that was a challenge. But despite the challenges, well, not even despite the challenges, because of the challenges and because I've been able to continue to keep pushing and I guess rising above it, it's really demonstrated and showed me the strength that I have within. And I really get irritated with this whole strong black woman trope. Like, it's irritating. Sometimes we want to be soft, we want to be gentle, we want to be taken care of. However,
Okay.
I clearly am a strong black woman because what I've been able to endure and to continue to come back again and back again, I personally think is like, I'm not gonna, well, I am gonna toot my own trumpet a little bit. Like, I personally think it's been pretty amazing. What I am hoping for, though, is that over the next few years, I get a period of just nothingness. Like, can we just have a bit of calm, please? That would be great. I don't want to be on the strongest warriors list for 2025 or 26 or 2027. Come back to me in 3 years. Like, for now, can I just have a little bit of calm?
Wow, nice, nice. I think I particularly love how you shared how you came out of those challenges, because that's what we need to learn as well, because we all will face challenges at some point in our lives. But I think one key thing that you mentioned was systemization, because you set up the systems so the business could run without you. And I think that's one thing that many people fail to do. They kind of like instead of working on the business, they work in the business, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, you talk about people, mentors, your partner, your husband. You talk about your people working with you. I think sometimes we also need to, when we are faced with challenges, we need to reach out and look for people that can help us, because we can't do it all alone. And I also like how you said that, not despite, I mean, because of those challenges, you realize the strength that you had inside of you. And one of our guests actually said that um, life is not supposed to be a flat line, that we're supposed to have the highs and the lows. If your life is just a flat line, like when you're looking on the ECG, then that's actually death. But you're supposed to be having the highs and the lows and things like that. But staying through, to keep pushing as it's all going through, that's the essence of it all.
Yeah, so
So thank you.
maybe not the flat line, but I
Yeah,
want I want some of this for a sustained period.
yeah. So you want that on
Yeah,
that, yeah, but
less.
not a flat line. Yeah. So he actually said our goal is not to stay in the low, but to pick ourselves up, and anticipate the highs that will come soon. And that's what you're talking about. 25, 26, the highs are coming.
Amen.
Amen. Right. So I think you won't believe it, but we only have like 12 minutes to go. So I'm just going to ask some more specific questions for people that are like professionals, and they want to learn from you. So do you have any advice for people that are professionals that are actually looking to launch a business? Some people they've not put their feet in the water in terms of launching an actual business, and they're like, is this for me? What would you advise them?
So there's a few things. Number one, see if you can sell what it is that you want to sell. I think
Mm,
the idea of going into business is a great one and it sounds great. And people will spend lots of time trying to do all of the fanciful stuff. Let me build this wonderful website. Let me get the logo designed. Let me do this, that, and blah, blah, blah. But can you actually get people to pay you for what you offer? And I think that is really the most important thing to do first. The second thing I would say, though, is also, if you're already in a job, save. Start putting
mm,
money aside so that you're not kind of just jumping ship and then in a position of panic trying to make money every month because you don't have anything to live on except for the income from the business, because businesses can take some time to gain kind of traction. So with this business, when I started it, I was actually contracting for an agency with the government, doing the same thing but doing it as a part-time contractor. And
yes.
that enabled me to really kind of practice, to trial certain things without this panic of, oh, there's not enough money in my bank account, because I was getting paid quite well from that position, and then was able to then be a little bit more flexible with what I did in the business. And I didn't actually step away from that until I started to gain traction with the business. And what I was then able to do is be sure that I would be able to pay myself every month, which I was then able to do. So I think I left that feels like a bit of a blur now. It was either 2021 or 2022. I can't quite remember when I ended that contract. It can be difficult when you've got regular income coming in. Saying no more to the regular income to go down the route of entrepreneurship where it's a little bit more precarious can be quite tough. And this is why I always recommend people pick a date. So it's no, it's October 2024 now. So pick a date. When am I going to do this? How long am I going to give myself to? So I would say 6 months to 12 months. So October 2025 is when I'm going to quit my job. So I've got from now to October 2025 to sell as much as I can to prove that this is actually a viable business that I'm going to run. And actually, what you may find is that you're able to prove that sooner, in which case, then by all means, step out and go and get it done. But at least if you give yourself that time frame, then you are committing to not getting stuck. Because there's people I know that have been saying for years, I'm going to do business, I'm going to do business. And the years pass and the years pass and the years pass and they don't ever step out and do it. And this is why I think it's important to start selling, to prove to yourself that you can do it and pick the date. And those two things, in my opinion, work hand in hand. And yeah, like just really understand who you're trying to sell to and what the value is that you bring to them. That would be the advice that I would share.
Thank you. I think you can't overstate the importance of saving for if you're at a job and you want to start a business. I think it's something that many people or if even if it's not a business, if it's something like a side hustle or a passion project, and that's why I always tell people that in jobs that if you have a job, you can actually save up and use your job to fund that passion project until it's able to stand on its own. And just like you said, even for businesses as well, it's also very important. And I also like that number one thing that you said was make sure that it's sellable, make sure that it's something that is actually useful to the marketplace, rather than train all your eggs inside and you find out, oh, it's not something that people actually want. So if you're looking to start a business, I think that's very important. A question I'm going to ask you, and it's a question that it's been more like a debate between myself and my friends as well, is do you need formal education to start or run a business? What's your opinion on this?
Funny enough, I put an article about this last week because it's something that I've had many discussions about, and I'm formally educated. I have been to university 3 times, and I do plan
Wow.
on at some point going back again to get my. I keep forgetting what it's called. You can have a PhD, but it's the business version. Is it DBD? I think it's called. But I want to do that at some point, and I don't think that you need formal education to run a business at all. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's essential. There's many successful business owners that that didn't even finish school, let alone college or higher education. However, for me personally, it has been very, very useful and beneficial. My master's was in media enterprise, so it's essentially like entrepreneurship within the creative industry specifically. And then I've done an MBA with a specific focus on advanced strategy and entrepreneurship. And neither one of them helped me start a business, neither one of them helped me run a business. What they did do, however, is equip me with some of the skills that have helped me in my business. The same with my undergraduate degree. My undergraduate degree was in media and communications, and I specialized in television and radio production. I don't do a business that does television and radio production. I'm not working in the media specifically. However, part of television production was reading script, learning how to use a teleprompter, presenting yourself on screen. Same with radio production, being able to talk confidently. With my masters, putting together digital transformation plans. With my MBA, putting together business plans, putting together project proposals, all of those things. But also the even the less specific things, research skills, presentation skills, discipline, time management, all of those things that are necessary for you to be able to complete your degree successfully. And I did get a distinction for my MBA, mind you. I'd like to put that out there. So it demonstrates particularly discipline. Like I had a newborn baby at the point where I was doing my MBA, which to this day I still don't understand how I got my highest grade when I had a baby. But anyway, that's by the by. All of those skills have helped me in business. Did I have to go to university to acquire those skills? Absolutely not. But has it slowed me down? Has it impeded my progress? No, it has not. And I also believe that formal education is it's recognized, it's respected in certain spaces. So for my business specifically, I don't think this would apply to every industry, but for my business specifically, I believe that there are clients that have worked with me because they see that I'm educated, and therefore they believe that from a strategy perspective in particular, she knows what she's talking about. So I would never downplay education, because I think it's a very powerful tool, and it's something that no one can take away from me. So if I decided tomorrow to quit the business and go and become a consultant for one of the big consultancy firms, I'd be able to do that, because not just because I've had a business, but because I have an MBA. So I feel like if you're somebody that's educationally inclined, don't let the fact that you
Mhm.
want to go into business prevent you from pursuing further education. But if you're someone that's entrepreneurially inclined, don't feel that you have to go to university to fulfill your entrepreneurial dreams, because you absolutely don't.
I think that's a very apt answer, I would say, Daniela. And thanks for sharing that. And it's kind of, and when you were sharing how all the skills, all the transferable skills you got from your undergraduate program and your master's and how you brought into business, I think if we have that perspective when we're in school, then I think it will actually help us, or to help people that are going through school now understand that, well, you might not like the assignment, you might not like doing the research, you might not like that, but if you're thinking about how you use it in the future, how it can make you a better person in the future, then if you change that perspective, then I think you enjoy doing those things better than, oh, it's just another assignment, another research project or something like that. But now with the benefit of hindsight that you're sharing, like if you think about it, oh, even if I'm going to be like a business person in the future, I can take this and I can use it in the future. I think that would make a difference in how people see school. And yeah, just like you said, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't have to. But if you go to school, then look for what things that you can transfer from that, because it's not all about the degree; it's about what you've learned from it and how you can use it to add value to others.
But
It's
also, what
about,
you
yeah, go for it.
sorry, what you said about what could I take from this, it's even deeper than that. When you're in business, there's many things that you don't want to do. There's stuff that I have to do that I don't want to do. I have no interest in it. I wish somebody else would do it, but I've got to get it done. And the same applies when you're at uni. I don't want to do the assignment, but I have to. So actually, even teaching you how to do things that you don't want to do, but do them to a high degree, pardon the pun, to a high level, it's that is a training ground. I also, when I was at university, from a connection perspective, I started the African Caribbean Society at my university, and that really trained me in event management. I had to do sponsorship. I was able to secure sponsors for some of the events. Again, all of those things that have then become useful in my business. So it wasn't part of my degree. It was something that I decided to do as an extracurricular thing. But even those
Mhm.
extracurricular opportunities can be really advantageous if you choose to start a business.
Excellent, absolutely. So we should start thinking of it as a preparation ground rather than just, oh, another 4 years, another year. Oh, I absolutely love your answers. We only have 2 minutes to go, and I've got a couple of questions, which I think that you probably already have answers to. And the first one is a funny question, and is ask her when we can taste that Jamaican Sunday dinner. Um,
Um,
yeah, I've also seen like different pictures of your combinations of Jamaican Sunday dinner. So tell us about them.
so Sunday dinner is very serious in my house. I do put on a big spread, but as I keep saying to everyone that says when is the invite, I don't cook very well under pressure. Like it doesn't
Mm.
work for me. I need it does actually look quite nice, but yeah, I need to be relaxed in a relaxed environment. If I know that there's people coming to eat the food, I'm not always as I don't perform as well. So the answer is probably not anytime soon.
There's an answer from someone here. Nathan, dinner was amazing. Okay.
This is my
The other
husband.
question. Nice. The other question is from Paul, and it says, "Do you have any strategy or any book you can recommend to be more organized and to facilitate time blocking?"
That's a good question, and I don't. There's one that's a friend of mine recommends. I think it's the no gold. Is it Golden Morning or the 5 a.m. morning, something like that? Which I don't. As I said, I'm not an early riser, so I don't really ascribe to that personally. But I've heard that that book is supposed to be really really good. But if you Google time blocking, there's lots of resources online. But for a general strategy book, not related to time management, Blue Ocean Strategy is a book that I would highly recommend, that has been very impactful in the work that I do both in my business and with my clients. So I would highly recommend that.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you to everyone that's joined in and everyone that's put questions and comments in the chat box as well. I can see Marisha, who's coming on the show shortly. I can see Paul. I can see Akin Kumbanjo. I can see Nathan and Sabrina Dennis. Thank you all for joining and thank you for
Thank
listening in.
you.
We've reached the end of another wonderful episode today. Thanks to Daniela for adding value to us, helping us see that. I mean, you need to keep thinking big. You need to keep taking action, and you need to keep pushing. She's taught us the importance of systems. Taught us how we should actually ask for help from people as well, and finding the strength within us. Importantly, and I think what most people are interested in is also the concept of time blocking and also giving yourself grace and being intentional about rest and about fun. Um, yes, because rest and fun is important, I think we have to call it a day at this point. I'd like to say thank you to everyone
Thank
that
you.
has watched, even though you've not probably put comments. I know there are people that are watching as well. Thank you all for joining, and I hope today's episode was of value to you. Thank you once again, Daniela.
Thank you so much for having me. And if
Have it.
people want to connect, they can visit my website, which I can see on the screen,
Yeah.
bethebossintl.com. I'm also Be The Boss INTL on Instagram and just my name on LinkedIn if you want to connect. Oh, I'm saying it and you've got it on the screen. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And as I always like to end, till we meet again, make sure you keep living with passion and with purpose. We'll see you at the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.